Welcome back to Old Charles, the channel where we explore the fascinating world of coins, currency, and numismatics. Today, we're diving deep into the history, condition, and value of a coin that might be sitting in your pocket change right now. The United States Jefferson nickel from 1981. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Its design was created by artist Felix Schlag, featuring a portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse. On the reverse, we see Jefferson's famous Virginia home, Monticello, by 1981. This design had already been in circulation for over 40 years, becoming one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The coin was struck in two major mints, Philadelphia no mint mark and Denver D mint mark, while the San Francisco Mint produced proof versions with the S mint mark. In 1981, millions of Jefferson nickels were minted, as these coins were a vital part of everyday commerce. The coin was made from a composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel, with a weight of 5 grams and a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. Even though silver was no longer used in nickels after World War II, this copper-nickel alloy has made the coin both durable and long-lasting in circulation. Now, when it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. A 1981 Jefferson nickel found in your pocket change is usually considered circulated, meaning it shows signs of wear, flattened details, scratches, and a duller appearance. Collectors use a grading scale from good G4 all the way to mint state MS70 to evaluate coins. In good G4 condition, Jefferson's hair and Monticello are heavily worn, but the date is still readable. In fine F12 condition, some of Jefferson's hair details remain visible, and Monticello's steps may be faint but outlined. In extremely fine XF40 condition, the details are much sharper, with only light wear on the high points. In uncirculated MS60 to MS65 condition, the coin looks brand new, with full luster and sharp detail. The holy grail for collectors is a full steps FS designation, which means all the steps of Monticello on the reverse are fully visible and strike sharp. These coins are much rarer and command significantly higher prices. So, how much is a 1981 Jefferson nickel worth today? Let's break it down. Most 1981 nickels in worn condition are only worth their face value of 5 cents. Millions were minted, so they are still very common that in higher mint state grades like MS63 or MS65. The coin's value ranges from $1 to $5, depending on the strike and luster. These were struck for collectors, not circulation. A mirror-like proof in PR 65 condition can be worth $3 to $6, with deep cameo examples sometimes reaching $10 to $20. These are the most desirable. A 1981D or 1981P Jefferson nickel with full steps can sell for $50 to $200 or even higher in top grades, especially if graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. One important note: while most 1981 nickels are common, finding a pristine, fully struck example with full steps is extremely rare, which is why serious collectors are willing to pay a premium. In summary, the 1981 Jefferson nickel is a fascinating piece of U.S. coinage history. While most are worth only a few cents in circulation, high-grade examples, proofs, and especially full steps varieties can be valuable additions to any collection. So, the next time you come across an old nickel in your change, take a closer look. You never know if you're holding a rare gem in your hands. We're looking at the United States 5-cent coin from 1981, also known as the Jefferson nickel. We'll explore its long history, design, and background, along with its value and condition in today's market. To understand the 1981 Jefferson nickel, we first need to look back at the origins of the nickel itself. The 5-cent denomination was first introduced in 1866 after the American Civil War. At that time, the U.S. government replaced the silver half-dime with a larger copper-nickel coin, which we now know as the nickel. This decision was made because silver was scarce and needed for other purposes, while nickel and copper were cheaper and more durable for everyday circulation. From 1913 until 1938, the U.S. Mint produced the famous Buffalo nickel, featuring a Native American portrait on the front and an American bison on the back. However, by the mid-1930s, the mint decided it was time for a new design. A national competition was held, and German-American sculptor Felix Schlag won with his portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. The Jefferson nickel debuted in 1938, showing Jefferson's profile on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. This design became one of the most iconic and longest-running designs in U.S. coinage. During World War II, 1942 to 1945, the composition of the nickel temporarily changed. Since nickel metal was a critical war material used in weapons and armor, the mint replaced it with an alloy of silver, copper, and manganese. These coins are often called wartime nickels and are still collectible today. After the war, the mint returned to the familiar 75% copper and 25% nickel composition, which remained standard in 1981 to be by the late 1970s and early 1980s. The United States was experiencing economic shifts, rising inflation, changes in metal prices, and increased production of coins for circulation. Despite these challenges, the Jefferson nickel remained unchanged, continuing the design tradition that had lasted for over 4 decades. Now, focusing on 1981 specifically, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of nickels that year, marked with no mint mark. The Denver Mint produced nickels with the D mint mark. The San Francisco Mint struck proof coins for collectors, with the S mint marked at AT this time. Coin collecting in America was becoming more popular, with organizations like the American Numismatic Association, ANA, promoting education and coin shows. While most people used nickels for everyday purchases like bus fares, sodas, and newspapers, collectors began setting aside pristine examples from each year. It's also worth noting that the Jefferson nickel design had such staying power that it lasted from 1938 all the way to 2004 without major changes. That means a 1981 nickel belongs to the long-running classic Jefferson nickel era, before the series underwent redesigns in the early 2000s to celebrate the Lewis and Clark expedition, and eventually adopted a new portrait of Jefferson in 2006.SO. The 1981 Jefferson nickel is more than just a 5-cent piece. It represents a continuation of American coinage tradition, connecting back to Thomas Jefferson's legacy, the history of Monticello, and over a century of 5-cent coins evolving with the country. When it comes to coin collecting, one of the most important factors in determining value is condition. Even if you have a rare year or a low mintage, the overall appearance of the coin will often decide whether it's worth just a few cents or potentially hundreds of dollars. The 1981 Jefferson nickel is no exception. Since millions of these coins were struck for everyday use, most examples you'll find today are in circulated condition, meaning they've passed through many hands, vending machines, and cash registers over the years. Let's explore what that really means. Circulation gradually wears down the details of a coin. On the Jefferson nickel, the first places to show where are usually a heavily used 1981 nickel might look flat, dull, and smooth, with many details missing. On the other hand, a coin that stayed in a collection or was preserved in rolls may still have its sharp edges and original mint luster. Collectors use a 70-point grading scale created by Dr. William Sheldon, which has become the universal standard for coin evaluation. Here's how it applies to the 1981 Jefferson nickel. The coin is very worn. Jefferson's face and hair are almost flat, and Monticello on the reverse is barely outlined. Only the date and lettering are clearly readable. Slightly more detail appears, but the high points are still flat. Jefferson's features are more visible, and Monticello has some structure, though the steps are mostly gone, light to moderate wear. Jefferson's hairlines are visible, and Monticello's columns are defined. Strong detail, with only light wear on the highest points. A coin in this grade may still look sharp in hand, very minimal wear, often visible only under magnification. Original mint luster is still present. These coins have never been circulated. They retain full luster, with no wear at all. MS-60 might still have bag marks or small scratches from the minting process, while MS-65 or higher coins are sharply struck and highly appealing. These coins struck at the San Francisco Mint were specially made for collectors with polished eyes and mirror-like surfaces. One of the most important aspects of Jefferson nickel collecting is the full steps designation. Monticello, Jefferson's home, has a set of steps on the reverse. In most nickels, these steps are weakly struck or worn down quickly, making them incomplete that a coin with all 6 steps visible in sharp detail can earn the full steps label when graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. These coins are rare, especially from years like 1981, where strike quality wasn't always consistent. A regular MS-65 nickel might be worth just a few dollars, but an MS-65 full steps coin could be worth many times more. The early 1980s were a time of high coin production. Both the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced millions of nickels, but not all of them were perfectly struck. Some coins show weak details, die fatigue, or minor die cracks. While these aren't necessarily rare, they affect how well Monticello and Jefferson's portrait appear on the coin. Because of this, collectors place a premium on 1981 nickels with sharp strikes and clean details, especially those that survived decades without being damaged. For most collectors, a circulated 1981 nickel is only worth face value, 5 cents. But condition makes all the difference. A bright, lustrous coin with no where can enter the mint state grading range, worth more to collectors. A coin with a full steps designation can be worth tens or even hundreds of dollars in higher grades. Proof coins in pristine condition with deep cameo contrast are also highly prized, since they display frosted devices against mirror-like fields that if you have a 1981 nickel in excellent shape, you should protect it to maintain its condition. Collectors often use 2x2 cardboard holders, plastic flips, or slab cases from grading services to prevent scratches and environmental damage. Handling coins by the edges and avoiding cleaning them is also key. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and actually reduce a coin's value. So, condition is truly the deciding factor when it comes to the 1981 Jefferson nickel. While billions were struck and most survive only as common pocket change, those rare, sharp, and pristine examples, especially with full steps or proof quality,